IVM.
Hey, welcome to episode 72 of Shunya One. We have an excellent conversation coming up for you. We speak to Gaurav Singh of Verloop. It's a really interesting conversation where we really get into some of the nitty-gritties around how bots work and stuff like that. I think you will really enjoy that. Meanwhile, on Slack this week, we had an interesting question coming off our conversation with Ritu last week. We asked the question, how would you see your fitness journey be successful? Option number 1 was, I need a personal trainer. Option number 2 was, I believe in eating right or in moderation. Option 3 is, I exercise to eat. And option 4 is, I find coaching apps useful for guidance. We've seen a fairly even split between options 1 and 2. I need a personal trainer and I believe in eating right or in moderation. I guess that means most of you guys think that you should do this yourself, or you should do this with a personal trainer. Or at least you need a trainer for exercise and you need to eat right by yourself. And with that, let me take you on with your show.
All right, welcome Gaurav to our show. This is episode 72 of Shunya One. Thanks for coming here. Glad you could make the trip from Bangalore to Bombay. Now that you're, of course, visiting, doing a whole bunch of sales, you guys are really killing it, is what I hear.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yes. So can you tell us the story of what exactly you've went out to build, how you built Verloop? And of course, I have a few things you've done before this also. With something interesting called Stock Ninja. What was that? Was it a stalker app you built in college?
Was it stock as an S-T-A-K-L-K or S-T-O-C-K?
S-T-A-L-K.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now we want to know.
So Stock Ninja, actually, there is a bit of background history to it. So somewhere around second year of my college, I got in touch with, I was in Jabalpur Engineering College. So doing my engineering, but didn't like it at all. So I was mostly hanging out on online forums, connecting with people, doing some interesting stuff here and there, doing freelancing, paying for my college education. So I connected with Pocha. He was in Bangalore doing a bunch of startups, and I started helping him with his startup work. And at some point we were like, this could be a business idea where, small startups who have a lot of things to be done inside, not the core product, but don't have engineering bandwidth. They can outsource it to students who will do it for a charge. So it was like a student freelance model. Mm-hmm. So at some point we had companies like Flipkart, Dhruva posting their projects. And so we called these guys ninjas who were hidden somewhere in the different colleges, and we were just bringing them to the platform.
Wow. Which year was this?
2010, 2011.
Okay. So internet obviously had just started. Widespread adoption, mobile adoption already out there or not yet?
No, I doubt anything was there. I remember connecting to 256 kbps modem, which was called broadband back then. So
yes.
Yeah, there was not much of internet. In fact, I remember buying my first Android phone through the money which I earned through Stock Ninjas. So first Android phone, yeah.
Interesting. And how did that lead to what you're doing today?
So post Stock Ninja didn't work out. That was the first time I learned how to run the Excel sheets and figure out what the business plan should be, how we are going to make money someday in future. It didn't work out, but post college, I joined TCS for a year. Mm-hmm. Worked there. It is a great organization. I learned a lot of things on how to do things structurally rather than just being two-people company. Mm-hmm. What's the importance of processes and so on and so forth. But over the long period of time, I figured out myself to be a misfit there. Mm-hmm. Got a bit depressed, went to a therapist.
Wow.
Okay. And then one fine day, almost 12 months into, I was like, I'm done. And I just moved to Bangalore. Mm-hmm. Started working with a startup where we were like, so this was back then when internet was still not spread very well. Mobile devices were still not so powerful in terms of computation. So we were like, the current movie formats don't scale. They're too heavy to be shipped. They're too heavy to be streamed, but we have to do movies. The video is going to be the future there. So we started rewriting a new movie format on JavaScript. And by then I had written JavaScript for almost 12 years. Mm-hmm. So we started writing a new JavaScript based movie format.
Okay.
That of course didn't work out really well. So at some point I moved on from there. Again, used JavaScript to build a 3D search engine, which at some point got acquired by a Swedish company. Wow. And then from there, I moved to Visury. Visury is a retargeting platform. So this was back when Google said enough of Flash, and they said everything has to move to HTML5. So I was the part of the small team which was rewriting the entire infra to run on HTML5 ads, to run HTML5 ads rather than being a flash ad. So did that, and then for last 3 years I have been doing Verloop.
Wow. So again, I think I remember when we had first met, you were also part of the Magic Tiger sort of team, right? Which Pratyush was building out. And how did that transition into what Verloop is today?
So like I said, I mean, there was a 3D search engine and there was some money associated with it. So once I moved out of Verloop, visually, I decided that we'll do something. We'll do one app which will do everything. And this was the first time I'd ever touched ops in real life. So me and 2 other friends, we started doing the one app for everything. We'll do deliveries, we'll recharge your phone. And this was 2015. So, and we had
2015 was the year when anything would get funded.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
So we had the story right. We had a IIT Bombay co-founder. Then we were B2C. And we were hyper-local.
Wow. So checkbox.
Yeah. But so we started meeting a lot of VCs and everyone was interested. But I mean, before going there, because of my previous stints with trying to run a business, build a business, we had done the maths, and what we figured out is that even at 70,000 deliveries a day, we were not breaking even.
Wow.
And the cost of delivery was actually going up as the number of deliveries was increasing.
Yeah.
So when we met VCs, they were like, what do you want to do? And we were like, we want to run more experiments because this doesn't seem to work. This will not work. So we need to. So what I will do with your money is run a bunch of more experiments, figure out what will work, and then build that. And a bunch of VCs said that we want entrepreneurs who will just go ahead and scale it before thinking about profitability.
Wow.
So we were like, all right, I don't think our visions meet. But at the same time, our money was running out. So I gate crashed into Unplugged. I hope Ashish is not listening. But I gate crashed into Unplugged. That's when a friend connected me to Pratyush, and then we joined Pratyush team. Pratyush was like, let me take care of ops and you do the tech.
Okay.
So that's when I joined Magic Tiger.
Awesome. And then, of course, what was the vision behind it? And tell us a little more about the product as well today.
Right. So during Magic Tiger, we figured out a bunch of gaps in how the current systems were running. So Magic Tiger, of course, like most of the other one app for all, started with everyone behind the scenes was human. So whatever you type, someone manually will respond. But there were gaps into it. The biggest gap was you cannot scale your marketing because behind the scenes, the human team has to scale. And then managing people, hiring at that pace, managing the quality was a big pain. Plus, you cannot do it 24/7. Otherwise, night shifts are almost 3 times as expensive as the day shifts.
Right.
So those were the issues, and we slowly started moving everything to automated things. We started building bits and pieces of automation first to assist humans and slowly take it over from them. But once we decided to move on from Magic Tiger model, that's when we thought that this piece still needs to be built because there are companies out there who have volumes, who already run marketing campaigns, companies who do insane lead generation and then do calling for customers. These problems exist there as well. Someone has to solve it. So that's when we started working with a bunch of companies. We just worked with 4 companies for the first year, solved for their problems, figured out what's the common subset, and then started building this entire Verloop, which we now call as automated customer engagement.
Wow. And what is automated customer engagement?
So I'll give you an example. So recently I convinced Abhishek to bring Allbirds for me from US. So I was on Allbirds site, and Allbirds follows US shoe standards. I was wearing a Crocs, and I'm used to wearing, counting my shoe length and everything. Metric and UK standards.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how does it translate into US one.
Yeah.
After I tried figuring it out for a while, and then I was like, I'm done, I'm not buying it. But think it like if there was someone to help me on that website at that point of time, I would have made a purchase.
Right.
And this happens all the time. This is how traditionally we as humans have done business. This is how we have evolved.
Right.
Before the internet era came, before we started putting walled gardens, before we started using lead generation forms, customer support desks, Zendesk, Freshdesk, support tickets. We used to be there with the customer. We used to answer it for them.
Right.
But now with the walled gardens, we say that you come here and I'll respond to you when I want to. Right? At my convenience, not at your convenience.
Right.
But the propensity of converting a customer is highest when he's on your website.
Right.
So what we do with Verloop now is we help you convert customers in the pre-sales phase, answer their queries, and most of these queries are similar, 8 to 9 queries, the 80-20 rule. So answer those queries, help them just in time, make sure that the conversion happens, and once the conversion has happened, help them with the support issues. Can you refund my payment? Can you cancel my order? What's the status of my order? Help in all of this without any human involvement.
So that means obviously you have to you did build that entire natural language processing base, and you have to understand how humans write, how to respond. How do you go about that? I mean, I know it's chatbots are a buzzword, just like all those checkboxes you ticked earlier. So what did you think of building which was different, unique, scalable? I mean, something which really would shine out there in front of everything else that's available.
So when we started, like I said, we were only working with 4 companies, and because of our geography, we were focused on India. So we were very clear from the start that we are not going to use off-the-shelf solutions, because you lose a lot of capacity when you start relying on someone like Google or Amazon to do it. They have done it for a horizontal, but you are trying to solve it for a few verticals. So if you start building it on your own, you could be way better than what they are for a horizontal. For example, till a few months back, Google used to translate awesome to bhayanak in Hindi.
Okay.
So how do you fix these problems? So we built our own NLP layer. We built our own English model. So we understand the difference. I mean that ye dil mange more, the more is not peacock, but it's the English more.
Yes.
So we understand that those nuances. So we built our own language models. At the core, we built a language agnostic platform to handle all of this. So once we decided to go out of India, all the things were already in place. We just started plugging language models, and the system worked for Spanish, system worked well in Southeast Asia, and that's the way we were able to scale.
Oh, so are you saying that Indians have a fairly complex model, hence when you understood us, you automatically were doing well with the other countries also? Is that?
Yes, and the reason being, in the same city, you will find people from different parts of India who speak language in a very different way. The bottom of the pyramid will type the people who came thanks to Reliance Jio online. I mean, they will mostly speak in a very wrong spellings and English or Tamil mixed with English. It's a mixed language. I mean, there could be 2 or 3 languages mixed at the same time. So if you can break this, then understanding single languages is a way easier problem to solve.
Wow, that's an interesting way of scaling. I mean, solving for this product. Okay.
So, question that occurs to me, you're primarily, I'm guessing, a B2B in terms of who your customers are. You're approaching other businesses and applying your product in there, right?
Yes.
And that, I guess, is the reasoning being because you were not so happy with your experience at the one app fits all? Correct. So can you tell me a little bit more about that, right? I mean, like, why these particular, what kind of verticals do you work with, right? I mean, like, why are you choosing to sell your product to the businesses you're choosing to sell them to?
Right. So we predominantly work with B2B2C businesses.
Okay.
So we are a B2B2C platform where we mostly target B2C companies, mostly because they have a lot of traffic. That traffic comes 24/7. Most of our support teams and sales teams sit in day hours, but a lot of purchase happens, a lot of interactions happen around 11 when the kids have slept.
Right.
And parents have a free time. So B2C, where there is scale, and where the conversions can happen and you can directly make a dollar impact in there. Either you can save dollars for them or you can increase their revenue. So in that, then we started narrowing down to online education companies. A lot of these online educators, MOOCs and all, along with that e-commerce and healthcare.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. Those are the companies where you do have like these wide, big audiences coming in to kind of do stuff. Right,
yeah, and
they have questions.
And they have questions and insurance along with it. So insurance is a very interesting vertical for us because we automate almost 30% of total travel insurance sold for one of our customer. And the reason being, travel insurance is a very new concept in India. I mean, people have not been used to buying travel insurance. Once people started traveling, I mean, tours became more famous, Euro trips and US became famous. That's when, as a visa requirement, it started being put on us. And people have queries, which one will cover my helicopter ambulance, which will cover my hotel cancellation.
Wow, I've not thought of that.
Yeah. And the ticket size is very small, $1,000 at the max.
Right.
And so the guys used to spend about 18 minutes and 2.5 calls to make that sale.
Right.
And if you take per minute cost as some 5 rupees or 3 rupees, most of your margins are eaten away.
Right.
So now we close close insurance in 5 minutes at the max.
And without the human intervention.
Without the human intervention. Complete the payment, answer all the queries, issue a policy, done.
Wow. Interesting. So that means you're literally going and, obviously you found these specific niches of human interaction or online interactions which don't need a human.
Right. Plus we work with, as an experiment, we also work with a few celebrities. Where, celebrity mostly has been a monologue so far.
Right.
And just for the experiment, this has not been a business idea. But so we have been working with Rajnikant, Thalaiva, as we call him.
Yeah.
So because it has been a monologue, if you can get the fans a bit of Rajni, a bit of their Rajni response to them, or say on your birthday, you get a happy birthday on your picture signed by Rajni, then it means a word to most of the fans.
Right.
So that as an experiment we have been doing.
Okay.
Mostly just to, more to touch to those masses, connect with them, understand how they talk and learn. But in terms of business, in terms of where we see the product, we have been mostly focusing on the verticals as side.
Wow. And again, just from a sheer, since you guys have been in business, how have you seen the need for this or the demand for this go up? You mentioned a few other companies earlier. The customer support aspect of this has always been around. When people come to you, you respond. In a way, you are still answering questions. You are not doing outbound marketing, so to speak, right? You're just you're assisting people who are already in that flow of a certain brand. But how have you seen the demand for a product like this go up?
So when we started, there was a lot of apprehension and misinformation. So, there is still a miscommunication that AI means it's smarter than human and it's going to be, it's a one thing which will solve all the problems.
Right.
It took us a while to convince people, no, this is as smart as a 10-year-old kid, not more than that. So don't keep your hopes too high. But what we can do is we can solve almost a lot of your problems. And we can solve it in the real time. The responses will go out in less than 100 milliseconds. And just to make it look like more human and not to intimidate the person on the other side, we'll delay it.
Wow.
So slowly people have been warming up to the idea. Either, previously there were two sort of people we were meeting. Either they were too excited that it will do everything. Or they were like, I don't trust the system. Now we have been finding people who have seen results, and of course now our results have been good, and now we process almost 2 million conversations a day. So we have numbers to back. So now we do see people that they have a expectation which can be matched, and they see a value proposition in it. Compared to putting up a lot more humans and solving it the traditional Indian way that throw humans to every problem you have. But now they are seeing that AI can solve it. AI can help them grow better, make profitability. And I'll also put it on the changed investment thing where, now the pressure is actually on showing the profitability. Showing a better path, if not profitability. Yeah. So cut down the burns on the unnecessary places. So that has helped too.
Wow. Did you take money from those VCs who said they want you to just execute?
No, back then we said no.
You said no?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they call you still saying that they missed out?
No, so in a way they did not miss out because GoDeliver in its model is long dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they did not miss out, but yeah, maybe someday.
Okay, interesting. Cool. Before we take a quick break and come back, what's the modus for you to build on top of this? Where do you see where is Verloop expanding into from the domain you're in today?
So the way we see our future is a lot more SaaS customers. So right now we have been focusing on selling outside India. Less than 18% of customers are from India for us. So keep growing it in the new countries, slowly keep releasing new language support. Along with that, what has also happened now is that since we do interactions in niche domains. So we know a lot about e-commerce now. So when a new customer goes live, we already are able to automate 60-70% of their problems.
Nice.
And then on top of it, we have to add their brand specific data, but that's okay. I mean, so the time to go live has significantly gone down.
What would be the time to go live typically if you get a new customer? How long would it take you to roll out?
So when we started with our first customer, it took us 4 months.
Okay.
Today, in most of the sales meetings, I promise like 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
As long as the APIs are in place. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Interesting.
That's fast.
Yeah, because I mean, the base layer has been built.
Right.
So it doesn't take time.
Okay.
Nice. On that note, I'm going to take a break and come back and see whether AI can be smarter than a 10-year-old.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on IVM Podcast. If you are not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, I wanted to ask everybody, it would be really great if you could recommend a show that you like to a friend. That's the way that we're going to spread the word about podcasting. Please, please, please go ahead and do that. This week on Cyrus Says, we have film critic Rajiv Masan. Cyrus and Rajiv discuss films they grew up on, the allure of movie stars, and the bright future of Indian films. On Simplified, Chuck, Naren, and Shrikit tell us about eco-friendly Ganeshas and how Ganpati immersions can be more environmentally friendly. On The Seen and the Unseen, Amit speaks to Yazad Jal, a fellow for economic policy at the Takshashila Institute, about India's ongoing job crisis. On the Pragati podcast, lawyer and policy analyst Amaya Nayak joins Pawan and Hamsini to discuss the Syrian civil war that's killed 500,000 people and displaced more than 10 million Syrians. This week on Paisa Vaisa, Anupam talks to Deepak Shenoy. Deepak's the founder of Capital Mind, and they discuss portfolio management schemes. The Rediscovery Project is coming out with its 4th season. Don't forget to catch Ambika and Hoshna with all new episodes from the 25th of September. And with that, let's go on with the shows.
All right, welcome back. Of course, we've been chatting about how you've built Verloop to be as smart as a 10-year-old kid to answer questions on chat. But taking a step back and trying to understand exactly what goes behind building a tech product like this. If you could help us with, why are chatbots so popular? Are they so easy to make? Is it really that one from the other is just a difference between whether they're more human or what is it? What's the deep science and the deep tech behind it?
Right. So the reason I'll say chatbot suddenly became so famous was because one day Facebook said, let there be chatbots, and everyone just jumped on it. And there are various ways in which you can build a chatbot. I mean, the complexity varies on how performant you want it to be and how really a use case you want to solve. So I'll give you an example. So let's say I ask you, what's your name? If you put it in a form, most probably people are going to type the name. Mm-hmm. If you put it on a chat, there are 3 ways I can answer it. My name is Gaurav. Still, I mean, in the entire sentence is only Gaurav. Mm-hmm. You can't save the entire thing as a name. Mm-hmm. Second is I can say get lost. And third one is I can say what's the weather in Bangalore or how is the traffic outside. You have to take care of all the 3.
Yeah.
So you can build a smart bot which will just pick Gaurav, or you can build a bot which just takes whatever came.
Yeah.
So once you decide that you want to build a smart bot, which, I mean, even though we call it at least is 10 years old smart, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort to train these nuances of language. I mean, how do you differentiate between a negation and an actual answer? How do you understand that what he has asked is not related to this and then subtly bring him back? Mm-hmm. The customer, if you ask a mobile number too early in a conversation, there is a huge drop. Mm-hmm. So you have to gauge when the confidence has been built in the conversation, when it's constantly going in a sentiment which is positive, and then you slowly introduce that, hey, can I have your mobile number? And then do the OTP in the last.
Wow.
So you have to take care of all of these. So we like to call it like a marketing funnel. Mm-hmm. And we have to measure where the drops are. So if you look at our admin dashboards, there are a lot of Sankey diagrams here and there where we'll keep noticing where the drop is and then fix those drops. We have scriptwriters in team who will write the engaging conversations, because we as a product guys or tech guys have usually been bad with words.
We're not as good as,
give us a chance and we'll introduce 20,000 options and give them everything to write DB queries. Yeah. So we have script writers who do it. So that's on the human side of it, where the human interaction happens. Mm-hmm. If you look at the backend, then a few main layers happen. First is the messaging layer. Mm-hmm. This messaging layer has to be a MUX, DMUX kind of arc where the message can come from WhatsApp or from your web or from app, Facebook, or whatever message channel you pick. Convert it into one format which system understands. Yeah. So you have one grammar. Then from there, it goes into the NLP part of it. Before that, there are a lot of pre-processors where you have to fix the spelling errors. You contextually fix the spelling errors. Like, I want to buy petrol. Now, instead of BUY, you wrote BY. So you have to fix all of that. And then you give it to NLP layer. NLP is mostly around drawing the word diagrams on how each word connects to the other word. It's like the Wren and Martin we studied in CBSE schools.
Wow. Okay.
So once that is done, you pass it to NLU layer. NLU layer is mostly around understanding what the words are. What's the intent? What's the entity? Recharge my X9999 mobile number for $100. So intent is recharge, and then there are entities, which is a mobile number, and there is entity, which is amount. After that, there's a goal fulfillment algorithm. To do X, I need these 5 parameters. Let's say for recharge, I need a mobile number, amount, and the operator. I have got 2. I'm yet to get the operator. So let me ask that question back. So once the goal fulfillment algorithm happens, you hit the server, do whatever you want to. And then to respond to customer, you have an NLU layer, which is NLG, natural language generation. So NLG so far...
Sorry, just to go back, what does NLU stand for?
Natural language understanding.
Understanding, okay. Sorry.
So NLG is not really very performant right now, somewhere around 20-30% accurate. Okay. So that's why most of the bots you will see out there will be using templates. But you can be smart about these templates. So we work with an e-commerce company where, there are various profiles of people who visit. So if it's a teenage person and is using a lot of internet lingo along with a lot of smileys, we respond in a different way compared to if it's a person who is typing slightly more professionally. Similarly, if someone is responding in English, we'll respond back in English.
Oh, really?
So they feel a connect. They feel this guy is speaking the way I speak, and it's not an alien, right? Your guards are not up. You feel happy with that conversation, and you give the results. You go through the happy path. So this is what happens. At the front, again, I miss the messaging layer. So messaging layer is critical. And it got so critical that we ended up building our own layer. Okay. And this is second fastest in the world right now with about 3.2 million messages per second.
Wow.
So it's open source, so people can go and check out what we built.
Which is the fastest, and why are you second fastest?
So fastest with Baidu. And we are second fastest because at 3.2 we were like, I don't think we are hitting this limit anytime soon, so let's focus on business.
Interesting.
So now the messaging layer is important because most of the current protocols, XMPPs, MQTTs, the ordering can get messed up. So if X1 and X2 were supposed to come in that order, and instead of that X2 and X1 came, as a human we can interpret them and fix it because we don't take immediate action on it. And it's just misordered by a few milliseconds. Right. But a system will process the X2 first and X1 later. So, it will go wrong. So we had to build the entire logic on how we do it, and it's essentially like how HTTP works. We learned from there on how HTTP works, how the packets are transferred, and then built the same for the messaging layer.
Wow, okay. No, my question was going to be around obviously building a core piece of tech which is very relevant to your domain is, yes, it's an edge over others, right? And all the layers which you just indicated, that's pretty much all the things which anyone else in the world will also be building when they're thinking about building a natural language response platform like this. Apart from your speed and, again, the very critical aspects of each layer that you mentioned, what really has worked, you think, in the way you guys have approached this? Like, I remember, so the first thing you said about Facebook launching, saying that now messaging is a thing. They launched Messenger as an app, and they said they gave a bunch of APIs, and they said everyone should use Facebook, Messenger, and so on. To be honest, I don't use Messenger at all, so I have no idea whether it even worked for people. Maybe it worked for some brands. Facebook has its own set of users and reachability and whatnot. But you're focusing on native chat on a website or on an app of another brand, right? So you're literally solving for people who only talk to those people on those platforms. How big do you see this being, and how critical is it to the business?
So I don't have a Facebook account.
Yeah.
So most of the interactions, the meaningful interactions which happen for the big brands actually happen on their websites or their apps. No serious brand at this point will try to push out all their customers and interactions on a platform, which they do not control. They have tried it before. News companies have tried it before and burnt bad, so I hope they have learned a lesson.
Oh, which one are you talking about?
All of them.
All of them.
If you're dependent on Facebook for traffic, your business is kaput.
Yeah.
So a lot of meaningful interactions still happen on the websites. They still happen on calls and are still on the emails. They're not going to go anywhere. And as more and more people come online, what might happen is a part of it might move to WhatsApp because of the way it is there. And so we already have a connect with WhatsApp. So we are ready for that. But Facebook Messenger in itself, I don't think took off much beyond US. Not much in India at all. A lot of small companies have been built on it and Instagram, but that's not the business we want to target.
Okay, interesting.
All right, so I have a somewhat tangential question. It came from when you were describing all of the processes that you do when you get a request, right? There was something that happened a couple of months ago. I can't remember if it was Google or if it was Facebook, where they did a demo of a person
Google.
calling. It was Google?
Yeah.
They did a demo of calling a pizza place or a restaurant and getting a reservation. And there was a lot of uproar that came around it regarding the ethics of pretending to be a real person versus pretending to be a bot. Where do you stand on that? What are your thoughts on that?
So we make it very clear that this is a bot
Okay.
for two things. First is that we don't want to keep you in dark.
Right.
It is a bot,
Right.
end of the day. And the other important factor is once you know this is a bot, your expectations are somewhat labeled to, there is no human. If I want to get my work done, I have to talk. I have to be slightly more simpler in my request
right.
and get my job done.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. Actually, that is a good answer. Great answer.
Yeah, but does the brand always agree?
At times they have asked for a girl's picture and a name so that, the conversions in the lead gen will be better.
But that doesn't really matter so much, right? As long as it's still a bot, what does that matter?
Statistically, who knows? Does that matter, Gaurav?
Well, no, you want to try and maximize your potential sales. So if a girl's picture leads to a better sale than a guy's picture, then, how does that really matter?
Yeah, so conversions have been higher, but that's not what we recommend.
Okay. Okay. No, but taking on from there, right? Taking on from how as NLP gets better, as responses get better, as you break your 3.2 million per second barrier, if you ever have to, there's a lot of intelligence in what you're building. There's a lot of human understanding in what you're building. When this is again going towards a future where, let's say, Verloop's on every other website and you're always having interactions. It's always a bot initially before you even reach a human. I know there's an era of phone IVR which is just so painful to deal with today, and we hate IVR for that. Probably that won't happen with chatbots, won't happen with such platforms. But when does it stop? What's the bleeding edge of the tech you're pushing on over here? Are you aiming at more and more human-like interactions? Is that what it is? And I'm sure it's happening, right? The example which you cited goes to say that it is happening. So what is the bleeding edge which will keep you in the game ahead of others? While not becoming, making people angry because it's too real.
So the bleeding edge for us right now is to understand how humans talk, understand those emotions better, be better at NLG, and then just keep going better and better in those domains. So what happens right now is, pick a e-commerce brand, any e-commerce brand, it will have a certain TG. The moment you change you go to a different e-commerce brand, the TG changes. The moment the group has changed, the way they talk changes. So you have to learn all of that. So for us, next 2-3 years of focus is that we have to be so smart, and at least pick e-commerce, we have to be so smart in e-commerce that you can pick us up, drop on any website. We understand all the intents. We understand all things around it. And rather than being at 80-20, we are at least at 90-10, because still that 10% has to be handled by humans in our case.
Okay.
Is there an uncanny valley problem in this in chat, like the way you have in like 3D graphics? You know, I mean, there is an issue in 3D graphics that you're okay with graphics as long as they look unrealistic up to a point. When they start looking somewhat realistic, then it becomes problematic until the point which they get extremely realistic. Do you have that kind of similar problem over here?
That's sort of what I was asking.
No.
So I think that problem will start happening as we start getting more and more into NLG.
Okay.
Because we have been trying NLG at various places. We launched a bot on Kick to just learn and collect more data. So in those cases, we wanted to say a person is sitting on the bed, and we ended up saying a bed is sitting on person. So those things will happen as we get more ambitious. I mean, but over the time, I mean, as more data comes, as we learn more from those conversations, as the agents who are sitting behind the bots and training those, I mean, their responses are being fed more and we learn more. It will reach to a point where, I mean, you don't need agents. I'll not say it will be as smart as a human or it will be as sharp as a human, but it will solve your problems. Okay. And I believe as long as it solves your problem, you'll prefer just talking and moving on to your next task.
Yeah, that's already happened in a way. I mean, there's this intermediate stage of which we hit where to look at food tech, when instead of calling a restaurant today, you use an app and you punch in an order and food just magically appears. But if you have an issue, right, with that, then you have to call and then chat becomes a hindrance actually, because the folks who do have chat right now, especially during food delivery, chat isn't responsive enough. It becomes a problem because it's a very immediate sort of need, right? I mean, unlike e-commerce where, okay, fine, you're taking 2 minutes more to tell me whether the shoe is my size, I'll wait, maybe. But probably with the respect of food, I won't. So is that something you're trying to solve for also, like this whole accuracy, speed, like everything is about that, right? As more and more mission critical your customers are. Is that something you've seen as a challenge you're taking up?
Correct. So that's a major challenge which we have to solve. Right now what happens is once we see a customer sentiment is going down, the net sentiment of the conversation, we forward it to human. But food is, like you said, is a very critical. I mean, if I'm angry, most probably I'm hungry as well. So, or maybe the other way. So, system cannot handle them at the moment. I mean, it might end up making you more pissed off. So we assign it to human. But like I said, that we learn from those responses. So maybe instead of directly passing you, I'll do a few more conversations, and slowly we'll be at a point where I'm able to solve all your problems. Because if you look at the human on the other side who is trying to pacify you, he has no more access to what the Verloop bot has. I mean, he's looking at the same API response that we are looking at. It's just the way he's forming that sentence. Right. So once we get smarter with sentence formation, we'll be able to take up that challenge.
Interesting. What's worse than an angry, hungry human? Like, what's the epitome of giving a challenge to a chatbot?
So a big challenge for us right now is address parsing, especially for Indian customers. Because outside India, at least in developed nations, in EU, US, addresses are very structured. I mean, you have blocks, you have streets, everything. We get addresses like Hari ke kuएं ke paas mein, puncture ke dukaan ke bagal mein. And how do you put it anywhere? I mean, what will you do with this address? So we have built our own Indian address parser module. Again, I mean, machine learning has a wide gap problem built in US, built for those areas. So we ended up building it and it solves it, but I mean, still an unsolved problem. And every business we work with, addresses do show up.
Yeah. So, which are unique.
Which are very unique. So that's one challenge we have right now. And angry customers is an easier problem because we just forward it to him. I mean, you take care of it.
Nice. Wow. Okay. On that note, I mean,
this is great, man.
This was a really interesting, enriching conversation. Gaurav, how do folks reach out to you, and will they get a human response or a bot if they tweet to you on Twitter, let's say?
Twitter is a good way, or they can write to me at g@verloop.io.
Okay. What's your Twitter handles for everyone?
It's sgaurav_baghel.
All right.
It's slightly complicated. SGAURAV_BAGHEL.
Awesome. And of course, on the Verloop website, you can also talk to the bot and ask for a bot for yourself.
Right. You can.
Awesome. Thanks so much for doing this.
And just a reminder to everybody, please sign up to the Slack channel. It's at ivmpodcast.com/Shunya One. There's a button over there saying join Slack. Click that button, send us your email address, and we'll send you an invitation.
Yes, and Verloop, does it have a Slack bot as well?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
You should.
You should have one.
Yeah.
We should use it.
We should. Something which helps us automate the sign-up process. That would be fun.
Yes, exactly.
Also, please, everybody, ratings and reviews and that kind of stuff. If you could do it on Apple Podcasts or Savan or YouTube or wherever it is, that is helpful. And one other thing I wanted to start asking people is just, the best way to tell people about podcasts is to tell people about podcasts. So please go out and tell your friends if you enjoyed this.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vishal Gondal, an entrepreneur. I've had the chance to meet and understand how some of the super achievers have hacked their way to success, and they have done spectacular innovations. Now I take a closer look at these people's lives to find out what lies beneath the force, only on the Vishal Gondal Show. Episodes out fortnightly on Wednesdays on the IVM website, app, or your favorite podcasting platform.
Every week comes a show where three people come together to tell you about stuff they like. A movie, a TV show, a book, and other stuff. Tune in every Monday on the IVM Podcast app to IVM Likes. Batman approves this message. Thank you, Batman.